Dave, can you unmute for a minute and do a test audio for us?
Good morning. This is a test. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, thanks. We've got about 20 seconds before we hear
thanks.
from you. Dave, do you want all board members' video to be turned on? Ask to start video.
If I could get all board members to unmute just to do a sound check to make sure we hear everybody. Kelly?
I'm here.
Good. Bonnie?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Bruce?
Here.
JP, can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Dr. Hawkins? You need to unmute. Up on the top.
The bottom.
Larry, could you unmute yours? Hi, Ginger. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, we just need to get Larry and Jerry unmuted, and then we should be okay. Just get a test run.
I got it.
Okay, Jerry, can you hear us
Okay
okay?
now? Hello?
Yep. Larry, we got you. Okay. JP, I think we're ready whenever you are.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. So we'll call this meeting to order. This is a special emergency meeting. We're convening by the power vested in the board by the governor's executive order in regards to the health emergency and the COVID-19 pandemic. So first of all, first matter will be to call the roll, given the fact this is a virtual meeting. So as I call members' names, please signify by saying present. Mrs. Ave,
Present?
Mrs. Corrado,
Present.
Mrs. Corrado is present. Mr. Cool,
Here.
Mr. Cool is present. Dr. Hawkins,
Here.
Dr. Hawkins is present. Mrs. Hill,
Here.
Mrs. Hill is present. Mr. West,
Present.
Mr. West is present, and show the chair is present. We have a quorum, actually 7 members are present. So we're ready to conduct business. First item of business, please stand and join us in the pledge. And mute your mics, please, before we start. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Okay. All right, got some feedback.
Somebody, yeah.
Members, if you're not speaking, can you mute until you're ready to speak, please? All right. So for the matter at hand, let's move on to discussion on state of the status, or status of the start of school, and Mr. Chapman. So Mr. Chapman,
Thank you, Mr. Ream. Members of the board, it has come to our attention in discussions with the Vermilion County Health Department that we are experiencing a small surge in positive COVID-19 tests. In the last week, since July 28th, there has been 20 confirmed cases, with 3 cases added to the list this morning. So looking at that, 23 cases within the last 7 to 8 days, it has pushed our 7-day positivity rate to 9%, which is on par with Indianapolis, for example. Vigo County, Clay County are at 10%. The issue being before us is safety versus risk. I can assure the board that the school corporation, through the course of the spring and the summer, has done everything in our power and then some to assure our community that our schools, the facilities are safe. We have the necessary PPE equipment, masks, hand sanitizer, all that in place. The buildings have been set up to promote as much as possible the guidance provided by the governor's office as far as social distancing for in-person learning. We have a virtual school option available, of which we have approximately 150 students enrolled in. What we don't have control over is what's going on out in our community. Not that we ever do, but the issue at hand is we know our schools are safe, but we don't know to what extent the increase is going to occur. I have been in contact with the county health department, have discussed at length with Wendy Farley, and she has in turn relayed information on to Dr. Albrecht regarding the number of cases that are occurring in our community. And in response, Dr. Albrecht has recommended that due to the concern for the health and safety of our students and staff, that we look at delaying the start of school and looking at the potential of moving the teacher work days to the 17th and 18th of August and the student's first day being pushed back to Wednesday, August 19th. With that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Board members?
JP, this is
Yes.
Ginger.
Yeah, Ginger.
If the cases continue to increase, will we again relook this? Maybe have to push it back further?
That is a possibility. One of the things that I have discussed with the health department is to work with them on a daily basis. Not that we haven't been already, but to assure us if there are continuing cases coming into the health department that are positive, that we be advised of that as soon as possible, so that we could reevaluate at least on a weekly basis where we're at and what we need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Anybody else?
Unmute your phone or your computer.
Yeah, if you're wanting to talk, maybe wave your hand or something and we'll make sure to get you unmuted. Looks like Jerry's trying to speak, but he's getting some technical help from.
There we go.
There we
We
go.
good now?
Yep.
Good.
Do I have a, Dave, do we have any idea if any of these cases that have been reported of these folks being self-quarantined?
Yes, as it relates to those who are awaiting results of their tests, if they are school employees, we are asking them to self-quarantine until those tests are provided, the results are provided. And we're if those tests prove to be negative, they can report to work. If they are positive, they are required for 14-day quarantine.
Well, having had a few hours to think about this, I'd just like to share a couple of thoughts with the board, may become issues, maybe not. But knowing that a lot of people around here behave as though there was no virus, they continue to meet in groups with little concern for social distancing, other precautions. I guess my concern is, are we setting the precedent that when anyone thinks that they're have been exposed, that we delay or cancel school? That's one thought I wanted to share. And the other thought is the central administration, the staffs worked tirelessly to put together a reentry plan that in most of our opinions provides the highest level of reopening. We've initiated protocols that are consistent with federal and state guidelines. So I'm just having trouble as one board member seeing what the 10-day delay accomplishes in a positive way.
Well, to your questions, Dr. Hawkins, the issue is partly because of, if you look back to when we closed school March 13th, between that time and the last week of July, we had approximately 20 cases. Within the last week, we've had 23. So that's a red flag on our part. Part of the other part of that is, yes, we've done a great deal of work on our reentry plan and our decision tree. Part of what we looked at is we want to start school in that green level. I don't think we can do that right now because of so many unknowns with, you know, this delay would give us time to see how many of these people who have been tested in these in the last few days, and a number are being tested today, actually, where that puts us. We have staff members who have tested positive. We have staff members who are awaiting test results, which will have an impact on how we operate. You know, one of the things that has been brought about is, why can't we just start on e-learning? Well, in theory, yes, that would be good. But one, students don't have their iPads yet, so that makes it difficult. Hold on a second.
Weather alert.
Weather alert. Sorry, that was our weekly weather alert. The other thing being, with the iPads, our teachers don't have their class rosters as of yet. We're still shifting kids from the brick and mortar school to the virtual school. You know, we want to make sure that if we open school, we're doing it the right way. Once school starts, if something of this nature occurs, we have the ability to opt into e-learning on a short-term basis if necessary, or shut down schools if it becomes widespread. And that's once school starts and we have those rosters and we have the iPads, we have all our pieces in place to begin with. What we don't have right now is that piece in place. And that's part of the reason why we're looking at the delayed start.
Dave, will the virtual schools stay on the same as us? Will they not open until the 19th?
That's correct. I've been in contact with our virtual school partner and explained to them of our meeting today, and that I would relay to them what our status is after the meeting. And they said without any hesitation, they can be up and running whenever we decide we want to have that going. And I think it would be feasible for us if we were to delay the start of the brick and mortar, we delay the start of the virtual so that all students would start at the same time.
And just one other question. Did I hear you right? 150 students are enrolled in the virtual school?
Approximately 150. We're vetting all of them now and pretty close to having that finalized. And if we do delay the start, if the board chooses to do that, we may look at additional students going that route as well. It's just a part of the process.
Dave, this
Yes.
is Ginger. At part of our reentry plan was to follow guidance or direction from the Board of Health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's pretty much what we're doing right now.
That the letter that you received last evening was the recommendation by the Vermillion County Health Officer. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Probably the other point, Ginger, to point out is our reentry plan was also reviewed and approved by the Board of Health. I think that goes hand in hand with your question.
Yes.
So we've got an added feature here I did not realize, but we do have, while it's not on the agenda, we do have some public comments. I didn't know that was turned on, Dave, but that's fine. We can work it real quick here.
We're live YouTube as well. Yes.
So some of them have already been answered, so that's good. One question, which this would have came out of our reentry plan, just to reiterate. The question came from I believe a parent: will teachers be tested before school starts? And as I understand it, that is not a part of our reentry plan.
No, we cannot mandate testing, but we can encourage it if they if it is believed that they may have come in close contact. Close contact again is defined as within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more of somebody who is positive.
The second question, which I believe we're going to take up, depending on how this first question or first recommendation goes, is the balance of the school calendar and what happens with that. So that was the next question, but I think we're going to get there later in the meeting, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Any other board member comments?
Well, I'd like to put on the table that I'm having problems dealing with the recommendation as it's written. I don't think August 19th is nearly long enough, given the amount of increase that we've had within the last week or so, and all the variables that we've got to deal with. We're dealing with young people. There's a lot of people out there that's worried about their young ones, rightly so. No disrespect to Mr. Albrecht and the health department. They've done a fantastic job working with us. But I don't think just kicking back to August 19th is long enough. I shared yesterday that I thought maybe after Labor Day might make more sense. There's just too many things we don't know. And I understand Dr. Hawkins' comments about, are we going to be knee jerking every time somebody has a concern? I understand that and I get that. But I think right now we're not going to get too many opportunities to be wrong. So whatever decision that we make at this point in time, we need to really, really be serious and go with our gut.
Bruce,
And the way it's written now for the August 19th, I don't think I can accept that recommendation. I would accept to push it further out, but I just don't think the 19th is long enough. There's too much on the table here. And my phone rang all night.
if I could interject, Bruce, and I appreciate your comments, and that's why we're going to be working with the health department daily. And should we go in this direction, my intent would be by Tuesday of next week, we have an update and have a decision made whether we extend it week by week or we're ready to go back.
I understand that.
Weekly basis.
I think we have to look at what's fair for our staff
Sure.
as well as our stakeholders. Okay, asking them to go week by week for caregivers, I think is a lot to ask. I know that several of those comments I got last night was from our staff. They're concerned, rightly so. And I hear there's a lot of rumblings out on the horizon about, the education unions going to challenge. I hope we can avoid that. I'm sure you're on top of that.
Yeah.
But I get it, but I just don't think that we should be jumping based every week. I just don't like knee jerking. We just need to put a stake in the ground. We got a good plan. We put a lot of effort into it. The key is execution. The key, everybody's got to execute. And if they don't execute, we got a plan. We just might as well throw it out in the street.
So I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Bruce. I probably, as I think about it, I think, a lot of diligence has gone into our reentry plan. Certainly, I think we are, unfortunately, in the world we're living in, and look at the other corporations that have opened up already, we are kidding ourselves if we don't think down the road we're going to be dealing with the COVID positive. I know we hope that's not the case, and we've got precaution that's been built in to hopefully avoid that. But the situation is we're going to be dealing with it as it relates to where we're at right now in the community. While we're seeing a spike. My understanding is the spike is, pretty related, isolated to, at least so far, to an event. It's been pretty well contract traced by the health department. I think the health department's done, from what I hear and talked to some of the people who've been positive, they've done a fantastic job of checking up with these folks and are on top of it. And I think Dr. Albright, Wendy, and everybody there should be commended. But, you know, I'm not convinced that this is a spike that is randomly spread throughout the community that's out of hand. And because of that, I feel the guidelines that we've developed are certainly adequate. Like I said, a lot of work. You were on that committee, Bruce. A lot of work went into that, and you know, I think we have to. You know, we certainly have to. We have to certainly weigh on safety of both our students and staff. I think we did that when we put the plan together. But I think we've also given parents a choice too with the virtual option that 150 families or children have avoided or have made use of so far. And we haven't, as I understand it, Mr. Chapman, we're working with people. We haven't cut off that yet. They can still apply. Is that correct?
The initial cutoff date has passed, but should the board decide to delay the start of school and we have families that are interested, we would reopen that.
Yeah, I think we have a solid plan. I'm not, you know, if we're going to, I'm not in favor of delay. I understand and hear Mr. Chapman's reasons, but if we were to do anything, I think we should figure out how to start under e-learning. But I think we've got a solid plan, and I'm kind of in the neighborhood of Dr. Hawkins here. I think we should stay the course, or at least, you know, we're still what, a week out? Well, a little more than a week out, right?
We're actually, if we do nothing, the teachers report tomorrow, students report on Monday.
Yeah. That's my 2 cents.
Well, I'll weigh in. I'm kind of on the fence. You see these corporations that have started, they've all had spikes in cases within the first couple days. Our community has been pretty lucky thus far, but you know, with the numbers going up here lately, but like JP said, it's an isolated event, hopefully. My concern is we postpone the start of school. The kids, in my opinion, I think they're going to be safer in the school. We have all these precautions and the plan in place. If they're not in our buildings, where are they going to be? What are they going to be doing? What are they going to be exposed to versus all the steps we put in to keep them safe while in our buildings? So I'm not in favor of delaying to Labor Day. I'm open to the 2 weeks, but I would like to not go past that at this point.
If I could, Kelly, I appreciate your comments. One of the things that has concerned me is the things that we've done as a school corporation, that I think we have done everything we can and then some to provide that safe environment. That goes without question. And I think our reentry plan is solid. It speaks to most every situation that could possibly happen. And we took a lot of time and a lot of effort in putting that together. My biggest concern is what we do not have control over. And that is, and that goes, whether we're in this COVID pandemic or not, there's some things that we as a school corporation do not have control over. In this situation, it's very fluid. It could go up, it could go down. We don't know for sure, but we do know that there are a significant number of tests that are pending. We have staff members who are awaiting test results. There have been students who have been tested. Again, when we're here at school, we know the environment. We know what's going on here. What we don't know is what's going on outside in our community. I know JP alluded to an incident or that. Yeah. There may be other incidents that we don't know about. And so it's just those kinds of things that we have to be concerned about. And I'm just bringing this to the board's attention because I want to make sure we're all transparent, we're all in the know, and that we make the best possible decision for the start of our school year.
Hey, Dave, I'm just trying to keep up with the comments coming in here, but obviously I think we've got some parents maybe tuned in today that were not a part of our reentry plan. So could you just briefly, for those, I think there's some confusion again between e-learning and virtual school. So could you just kind of reiterate that one more time?
The difference is virtual school is we have partnered with a third-party vendor to provide home instruction on a daily basis. Students will still be South Vermillion Community School enrolled students, but they will be a part of the virtual school, which will have teachers through this third-party vendor. They will be assigned teachers, they will be assigned classes, they will be expected to be in attendance, they will be expected to do their assignments daily. There'll be expected amounts of time that they would commit to each class. The e-learning is what we did in the spring with our teachers. Only going forward that we've modified how we're working the e-learning program because we learned a great deal from the parents, from the students, from the teachers during the spring. We didn't have time to prepare ahead of time. We did have time during the summer to prepare for an improved e-learning platform. So the difference being virtual school is a school in and of itself through a virtual platform with teachers outside of the school corporation, but they are state certified. They will mirror as much as possible our curriculum, our calendar. E-learning is if we have to shut down for a short time, a few days, maybe a week, maybe longer, our teachers will be providing the assignments through the Canvas platform. I think you're muted, JP.
Thank you. Both for Mr. Chapman, administration, and board members, I probably got 4 consistent comments from virtual school families that are just appealing for why does virtual school have to be put off? They were all set up, ready to go. Why should that be delayed? I just wanted everybody to know those comments.
A couple things. One, we have to have the mandatory student parent orientation meeting, and we were waiting for the results of this meeting before we proceed with that. 2, we have to get the iPads out to those students. And 3, remember the virtual school students will have the option to opt back into the brick and mortar school or at each grading period or the semester with the high school. So we want to keep the calendars on the same plane. So that's why we're maintaining that.
I've got another comment here, which I think is an excellent comment. And I think we considered this back at the reentry, but a mother who has a child on an IEP, and I assume that could be a child that maybe also has some health conditions. I don't know. But could you talk about, our plan in that context and children with IEPs and how we plan to handle that situation?
Are you talking with regard to virtual school or just us in general? Mute.
In-person instruction.
Okay. Obviously, if we go to e-learning, if a student is on IEP, we will have to work with the case conference committee to make adjustments for that instruction to be taken care of. That we've been in contact with the Covered Bridge Special Education District over the summer with regard to that, and they do have a plan in place. It's just a matter of adjusting the IEP for that student if we did go on in-person virtual or with e-learning.
Dave, I have a question. If we didn't delay, would we have enough staff at this moment to start anyway?
As far as I know, yes, but again, that is subject to change on a daily basis.
Because we're gonna have a hard time with, I mean, subs have always been an issue.
Well, we know right now that substitute teachers are going to be prime, and we're going to be battling that with a number of neighboring school districts. You know, I think the thing that we need to look at is with this spike, will that create a situation with our teaching staff regarding whether or not they're concerned about the ability to come into school with the contact tracing and the need to quarantine? Is that going to have an impact? Very possibly. And so there's that issue there. You know, the idea of the virtual school has helped with reducing the number of students in our buildings, but at the same time, we still have an obligation to teach those kids who are there with qualified teachers. If this spike, this surge creates a situation where we have a number of teachers out and we can't find subs, we have an issue. I mean, we've been working with a number of subs trying to contact them as much as possible to see where they're at. We have had some who have opted to not come in, but because of the pandemic. So that's going to be an issue we have from day one on.
Dave,
Yes.
have we made any headway on hiring a principal for the academy?
We're ready for that. Not necessarily a principal, but a coordinator. And we'll have that prepared for the next board meeting.
Okay. I was under the understanding that any over 100, we needed an actual principal.
Well, we did get a waiver from the DOE as long as the students are opting for the virtual school because of the pandemic. That 100 student count is waived. So as long as we have a coordinator to, as I go between the school corporation and the third party vendor, we're okay.
Okay, good.
Dave, if we do delay, how will this work with the students that are in the trades? If those schools don't delay, will our kids still have to go, or will they take the delay?
If we delay, our students will stay or will not go. I've made the initial contact with Craig Newby, and he's open to however we can work this out. The thing, and we're talking about 20 kids that would have to travel to other buildings. So we're gonna depending on how the outcome of today's meeting is, how that will work out is going to go between Mr. Newby and I'm not trying to put anything into this, but there's a possibility other schools in our co-op may delay as well.
So just a couple more comments. One from a teacher in the corporation, just as a personal opinion, suggests a delay with an opening of e-learning after the delay. Well, we got another parent whose son has an IEP and is making the point that they don't have the resources at home to educate their son. E-learning's not really worked for them, and sounds like their student is more conducive to an in-person arrangement. And then we've got someone here who is concerned about sports activities and possible spread through sports. So, Mr. Chapman, I think are you prepared to talk about that?
Sure. In Dr. Albrecht's recommendation, he noted that all athletics and extracurricular activities may continue. And he said may, not must or will, but may continue as long as social distancing can be maintained. And that's the key point. I know that the protocols will be if a student athlete is tested positive, they're to be removed. Contact tracing go into place. The protocols are there established by the Department of Education with IHSAA, and those issues will be maintained. At this point in time, he did not recommend that we shut down athletics or any extracurriculars, but that the people in charge, and this was a long discussion, must, when we're talking people in charge, we're talking about the coaches, the sponsors, the athletic directors, building principals, superintendent, must be assured that the guidelines are being followed to the T. There's no room for exception. If they are not 6 feet apart, they must be wearing a mask unless they are in that full physical exertion for the breathing aspect with the mask. There are specific guidelines that must be adhered to. And I did speak with Tim Terry, our athletic director, last evening, and again today, that this is, depending on how this meeting goes, and even regardless of how this meeting goes, we have got to be very diligent from the top to the bottom. If athletics and other extracurriculars are going to be continued, that they have got to be specific and they have got to be on top of this so that there's no wiggle room. And that's the issue that we have. There cannot be room to, well, maybe not this time or maybe not that time. No, it has to be all the time. And that's the issue at hand with extracurriculars and athletics. I can't sit here and tell you, because I haven't been at the practices, but the athletic director, the principal, the coaches, they have to be adamant about the fact that if you want to continue with athletics this fall, you've got to follow the rules. There's no room to not follow the rules. Here's the rules, abide by them, or we shut it down. That's how it has to be.
Few other, thank you, Mr. Chapman.
JP,
Yes, Ginger.
I would just like to say I strongly disagree with continuing sports or any other, after school activities. If we are going to delay school, which I think we should, and because we are following our reentry plan as it was written, I think that should mean that include sports or any other activities that students are together. And I think it was very, very difficult for students, athletes to play football, to gather, and I haven't seen them wearing masks at their practices. So, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. At some point in time, we're going to have to cut these comments off, but I want to try to keep up with them here. Let me try to. Students have already signed up for the virtual, have a choice to go through their own teachers if e-learning is set in place. So I guess that question would be, if we would revert to some sort of e-learning, could people move from virtual back to e-learning, Mr. Chapman?
From the very onset, we established the fact that if they go into the virtual school, they're there for, at elementary and middle school, they're there for 9 weeks. There's a 4-week grace period based on the virtual teacher, that if the student is not attending, not doing their assignments, not keeping up, that they would recommend that they be returned to the brick and mortar school. That being said, we're looking at, for grade purposes, grading, that at elementary and middle school, they are in there for a 9-week grading period. At the high school, it's semester by semester due to the credits for graduation earned. So that's been our stance from the very beginning, and that's where we're at.
Okay, a few more. Can we not, please don't forget about the parents that cannot do e-learning virtual with their kids at home. We don't have anywhere to send our kids to help with either of these. That's a comment. We get that a lot, I know. Another comment from another special needs parent. Could you have special needs parents or children, I'm sorry, start in person, and no matter what you decide on a delay? That's one comment. Let me see. I think we're about done here. Oh, another one about working parents and the issues of daycare, and they were planning around the start.
And let me say in response to those comments, JP, that I understand. We've been dealing with this since the middle of March, and I'm very concerned about those comments. I have a responsibility for 1,600 plus students, 300 plus staff members, to make sure that what we do is in the best interest of our school corporation and our community. And our priority, first and foremost, is the safety of our kids and our staff. And that's the bottom line. And is there any one perfect way to do this? No. And I do understand the need for daycare. I do understand the need for working parents. And this was not an easy thing for me to bring to the board. I have struggled with it because I feel from a school corporation point, we are ready. But that being said, I don't know, I can't sit here and tell you that with what's happening in our community, if it continues to grow, what impact that's going to have on our schools. Our kids have been out for over 5 months. I want them back. I know they want to come back. I know the parents want them back. We want them back, but we want them back in a fashion that is safe for everybody. And that's the issue we have before us.
I think we're about concluded here with one more has to go on our protocols. I believe our protocol is self-check on temperatures,
Yes.
both for staff and students.
Mhm. We have sent multiple notifications to the homes and to the staff regarding self-checking. What to do, what to look for. Obviously is the fever, other symptoms, those simple self-checks, and the bottom line is, and we tried to reiterate this as much as possible, if the child doesn't feel good, take the high road and keep them home. We have an issue here this year that we've heard from the Department of Education that, ease up on the attendance incentives and all that kind of stuff. We know that we're going to have a high absentee rate this year. We know that coming in because we want to err on the side of safety. We want to make sure that if there's any fever, shortness of breath, coughing, those kinds of things, just be safe and keep them home. I don't know if you can see this. We sent this one home or to our staff here just recently, earlier this week. And it's just, again, another infograph of here's what you need to do if this, if you got symptoms, if you had close contact, if you're waiting for test results, this is what you need to do. So we're trying to get that information out to everybody as much as possible.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. That's okay.
I've cut the questions off, but the last two are basically the same. One's what happens in the school, the other's on the bus. But it's back to our procedures.
Mhm.
Will parents be contacted if their child is exposed?
Yes.
No matter if it's on the school or the bus.
Correct. As we said, masks are mandatory for grades 3 through 8. Highly recommended K-1-2. When they're on the bus, regardless of their age, they're to wear a mask for safety reasons for everybody on the bus and the bus driver. We've staggered our start times from the elementary to the secondary schools so that we can limit the number of students on the buses. So we're double routing our buses. So we're taking those precautions as much as possible. And that's in our reentry plan.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. All right, any other board member comment before we move on to the recommendation?
I have a couple of things, JP.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I trust the plan. I believed in the plan when it was put together. I trust the plan. I haven't heard anything this morning that isn't going to be a potential problem for better or for worse anytime. The 10th, the 19th, after Labor Day. We're never going to be able to control what's done in the community. Mr. Chapman stated, and I believe this, we deal with the things that we can have control over. So I just do not feel that we gain much. If anything, that won't be with us the 19th or beyond by delaying school till the 19th.
Anybody else?
JP, I was watching the TV the other day.
Is that you, Larry? Who's that from?
JP,
Okay, it is Larry. Go ahead.
I was watching the other day, and they were showing one of the schools that went back, and they were really crowded out there in the hallway when they went between classes. The kids were all socializing, and that could be a problem.
Thank you, Larry. Anybody else?
Huh?
I guess before we move on, I just have a conviction in the guidelines we've come forward. I feel strongly if we would entertain a delay, it should only be under e-learning. As I understand right now, that's not part of the recommendation. So I'll just leave it at that. And we'll move on, Mr. Chapman, for you to present your recommendation.
Members of the board, this is not, and I know Jerry made this notion, this is not coming to you as a knee-jerk reaction by any means. We have more and more staff members who were asking to quarantine because they're in situations where there may have been a positive test. We are not prepared to start the school year off e-learning because we don't have everything in place at this point in time. It's a recipe for disaster because of trying to get the iPads out, trying to get the rosters put together, trying to get all the things that we do on the first 2 working days for the teachers and the students to come in to do all that. So therefore, my recommendation would be to delay the start of school with the teacher work days being Monday and Tuesday, August 17th and 18th, and the first student day being August 19th, with the understanding that next week we will reevaluate our status and move forward from there. Understanding the e-learning aspect of it, that might give us time to get things prepared in the event that we do, after that first week, move to e-learning. That's an option. We have to have time to get that properly put in place, and I can't see that happening within the next 2 days.
Okay. Board members, you have a recommendation on the table. I'd entertain a motion or discussion.
I make a motion.
Is that Ginger? I can't hear her. Can you guys?
I said I make the motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent.
I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation of the superintendent in regards to delay of the start of the school year. This will be a roll call vote, given it's a virtual meeting. So we'll start with Mrs. Ave. Signify yay or nay.
I hate it, but yay.
Mrs. Ave is a yay. Mrs. Corrado.
Yay.
Mrs. Corrado is a yay. Mr. Cool.
Yay.
Mr. Cool is a yay. Dr. Hawkins.
Nay.
Dr. Hawkins is a nay. Mrs. Hill.
Nay.
Is that nay, Mrs. Hill?
Yeah.
Mrs. Hill is a nay. Mr. West.
Nay.
Mr. West is a nay. And the chair is a nay. The motion is defeated 4-3. Okay. Given that, I don't think there's any need for the next agenda item. Would you concur, Mr. Chapman?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we are concluded with today's agenda. We'll conclude with superintendent and then board member comment. Mr. Chapman, any further comments?
We will proceed as planned with our teacher work days, Thursday and Friday. We may, because of the virtual school situation, we may need to push that back for that teacher, the orientation. I'll work with them on that and get something out here very soon today, but we're going to go from there.
Thank you. All right, let's start with Mr. Cool. Anything further? Is Larry speaking or I can't tell? Mr. Cool?
No, he's not speaking. Did you have any further comments, Larry?
They're talking to you.
Not really.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Mr. West? Bruce? Sorry. You're muted. There you go.
Better?
There you go.
Okay. I just want to let everyone know that we put a lot of effort into this. I believe in the reentry plan. I'm going to be saying it again. It's execution. And Mr. Chapman put it out there. There's no room there's no wiggle. Okay, so our staff, all of our staff, everyone, including the board members, and all stakeholders, we've got to execute the plan. If we do, it'll work, and our kids will be safe.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mrs. Corrado.
The only comment that I have is that the reentry plan, as I understood it, would be to take recommendations because of the COVID from the Board of Health. And I think that's what we did. And I just hope that this doesn't increase. I hope that our teachers will not be quarantined, but I have a feeling that that is going to happen. And I just hope everything runs smooth.
Thank you. Mrs. Ave?
I think we were all hoping that this virus would just be a big city problem and wouldn't spread to us, but it has. And, I think we're all going to have to learn to be able to handle decisions now that we make. And I think the word was fluidity, and then we might have to unmake them and be okay with that.
Thank you. Mrs. Hill?
I guess I just want to reiterate that I do feel like the schools are the safest place for the kids to be right now. And I know that goes against a lot of what parents think, but these kids are doing sports, they're traveling, they're gathering in large groups all the time. And if they're under supervision and doing the plan we have in place, I feel like that's the best place for them. And if we extend, what's to say they're not going to go on a vacation or, live it up the last 2 weeks of summer. But we have a strong plan. If they follow it, I think they'll be okay. But we have to learn to live with it. The virus isn't going away. We have to make the decisions and follow the plan and adapt as we can.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Dr. Hawkins?
I just appreciate everyone's comments and input. I trust the plan. I think Mr. Chapman and the staff have executed a plan that they can work with and that can work in the best interest of the school corporation, the employees, the students, and the community. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins. And appreciate everybody coming together in a short time to discuss this. And we'll continue to keep an eye on it. We appreciate everybody's got the best of intentions in this difficult situation. So we do thank you. And at this time, with no further business in front of the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dr. Hawkins made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. West. We are adjourned. Thank you for joining.